to feel scared. The demons I've been dodging are already here, shaking on the sidewalk of a street called love. The thousand angels crying up above. Rock bottom, don't look back, 'cause I can work with what I have. You prepared me for the pain, show me how to fall with grace.
Came down to the canyon, calling for the cannons. Now my conscience feeling dirty, dirty. Sick and shallow breathing, dark and deep bleeding. I could use a little mercy, mercy.
Rock bottom, don't look back, 'cause I can work with what I have. You prepared me for the pain, show me how to fall with grace.
Roll on like a tumbleweed, tore up West Texas the summer I turned 18. A flat tire in El Paso couldn't stop us, you see. We made it to Rose's Cantina, tequila flowed till 3. There on a bar stool sat a fool about 85, tall and lanky, but every bit alive. It set him up and he would knock them down. He called me over when I laid my guitar on the ground. He said, keep moving and keep your head high. Don't slow down until your feet touch the sky. It's all yours, so take it with you when you leave. Yeah, that's what Mr. Bojangles said to me. Said he used to dance down at county fairs. He loved, he lost. He said that nothing in life is fair. They keep on playing just the way you do, and don't give in to nothing, 'cause only you can walk in your shoes. So keep moving and keep your head high. Don't slow down until your feet touch the sky. It's all yours, so take it with you when you leave. Yeah, there's nothing but lost hopes and dreams. So don't get caught up in what was supposed to be. Don't wait till it's too late. You better see yourself alone. 'Cause God forbid you end up like my dog. So keep moving and keep your head high. Don't slow down until your feet touch the sky. It's all
Whoops. You'd think I know what I'm doing by now. Huh? Oh, there we go. There is no reason that music should have lasted as long as it did. Hello! You'd think by now I know what I'm doing. You would be wrong. I have no idea. Next episode. Which, on the Holy Night 1, Aoko had not hung up, but the line remained silent. Alice set down the receiver quickly, put on her mantle, and made for the entrance, moving her injured body by sheer willpower alone. Girl is making some dumb choices. How about you send the boy out to go get her and bail her ass out? Along the way, she paused, turned to Sojiro, and looked directly at him. Aoko's in trouble, isn't she? Alice hesitated for a moment. Duh! Before pushing aside her anxiety and grabbing his hand. Shizuki, come with me. Wait, where are we going? To Aida Church. We need to ask Father Erie for help. Aida Church? That's next to the hospital, isn't it? You went there once before. You helped them out. Good. You know it. That'll save me time explaining. Alice left the mansion and made her way down the tree-lined path. She was clearly determined, but the look in her eyes betrayed her pain. Alice, wait! Shouldn't we call ahead? Nope. Sojiro asked Alice, whose grip on his hand was light but unyielding. The church already knows. And if you're talking about the hospital, no need. It's quicker for us to go and help than call for a car. They can't fly. Alice had thought of everything. She turned to the mansion and lightly snapped her fingers. Robins? In response, a window opened and countless startlings took flight. Group 1, search for the enemy. Groups 2 and 3, proceed to the scene and administer first aid. Haste is paramount. If Aoko is still alive, do not let her heart stop. Alice commanded the birds firmly. Shizuki, fetch Aoko's bicycle from the rear courtyard. Sojiro let slip his discomfort at the thought of the thing, the custom-made red bicycle. When he was cleaning the incinerator, Aoko had verbally assaulted him for nearly scratching it. I wish I knew this bike existed previously. Okay, but what's the plan? You're much safer at the church than here, and I need to hurry. Take us both, Shizuki, or can you... take us both. Can you take us both, Shizuki? Proofreading. It is a thing. Thank you. While Sojiro had seen people riding tandem and was confident he could imitate them, he still wasn't quite certain he could trust a bicycle with his life. Moreover, its frame was so light he was unsure it could support both of their weights. Wait, you mean you want to ride on the back? If it's too much, then I don't need your help. Alice turned away as if to snub him, then began walking. Unfortunately for Sojiro, he was now on her bad side. Hey, don't get me wrong. I just never expected you to ask me to do something like that. Ignoring his pleas, she continued briskly towards the woods. There was no way she was going to ride the bike now. Sensing her stubborn streak, he desperately called out to her. I take it back. I'm sorry. I'll go get it right now. You can take your anger out on me later. Alice stopped. As soon as he saw her stop, he hurried to the rear courtyard, grabbed the key from where it was hanging, and used it to unlock Aoko's bicycle. By the time Sojiro brought it back to the front of the mansion, Alice was continuing toward the forest. I think I finally have you figured out, Alice. Muttering to himself, he straddled the bike. He rested the foot on the pedal. It felt light but sturdy. Confident the bike could support his weight and Alice's, he began pedaling. Alice! She turned as he called out to her, before shooting him a piercing glare. Dude's gotta learn when to keep his mouth shut. Come on, hop on the back. No cushion, though. So it won't be a comfy ride. Let me know if it's too uncomfortable. I'll be fine. Worry about yourself. He had hit the nail on the head. Alice definitely held a grudge over the smallest things. If that's the issue, then there's no issue. I'm happy to give you a ride. We're going to Ida Church, right? Unabashed and undaunted, he plowed on. His tone seemed to ease Alice's mood. She nodded calmly and took a seat on the luggage rack above the rear tire. I'm going to hold on to you, okay? You don't mind me touching you, do you? Why would I? I'm tougher than I look. Alice silently wrapped her arms around Sojiro. Once she had held on tightly enough, he gripped the handlebars. Good, he said quietly. What's good? Sojiro turned to her, an ambiguous expression on his face, and then began pedaling vigorously. He let go of the brakes, and the bicycle hurtled down Shido Inazuka's steep incline. Surprised by the sudden speed, Alice gasped and clutched Sojiro tighter. She almost protested but stopped when she saw the serious expression on Sojiro's face. Instead, she decided to tighten her grip. Just buckle on tight. You're going down the mountain real fast. There is no brakes on this bike. Under the night sky, a young girl had to put her faith in a young boy. That is some gorgeous scenery. Faster than a roller coaster, the bicycle hurtled toward Misaki Station. Around the station, there was no sight of cars or people. While the town slept under its snowy blanket, two people were racing like the wind. While he pedaled, the boy said, Phew, riding tandem is way easier than I thought. But he was alone in his relief. It was their first bicycle ride together, and they spent it speeding down an empty highway. The boy's words were lost to the howling wind, Fortunately, that is good news. In spite of the late hour, there were still lights on in the church. Originally, the original light at this time of night came from the entrance to the sleepless hospital, ever vigilant and ready to receive patients. However, this was a quiet town with little nightlife. The hospital saw perhaps one emergency patient per night, however, and it was not equipped to handle tonight's sole patient. It was a little before 1 o'clock in the morning. Leaving the bicycle outside, the two headed to the church. With its snow-covered roof, the church looked like it was wearing a white hat that lit up the darkness. In the entrance stood a tall shadow. Miss Kuonji? The man's voice was placid. Dressed in a long coat, he had been waiting for Alice. Father Eri, it's Aoko. Yuika is tending to her now. By the time I got to the scene, there were others already. I'd like to notify her family. What do you want? What? Aoko wouldn't want that. Besides, I believe they're trapped in a circle. Toko seems to have tied down their grandfather too. The two exchanged pleasantries. Sojiro did not move from the foot of their stairs. Oh, and who is this? Though the father seemed calm, his words had an edge to them. As if to protect Sojiro from his gaze, Alice stepped between them. This is Aoko's familiar, though their contract hasn't been fulfilled yet. Familiar? Sojiro was about to complain, but Alice shot him a fiery glare. That all but said, just shut up and play along. I see. This is the first I've heard of it, but I'll let it slide. I mean, you both are in conflict with an outside mage after all. That should take priority. Alice nodded in thanks.
では通ります。
I'll be
彼の
going
同
now.
行を許可します。
Let him enter too. He is most welcome. I will begin preparations for mediation. If a change of administrators is imminent, I have to prepare documents for both parties. I'm leaving things to Ritsuka in my absence, so send any questions her way. As if passing the baton, Father Erie exited the church. Sojiro took 2 full steps back to give him a wide berth. Now is not the time to be setting up some dramatic conflict. The priest had a dignified air about him. To put it bluntly, he was strikingly beautiful. Straight nose, glistening lips. Not a single imperfection to his mildly effeminate face. But that only went as far as his appearance. His manner lacked any hint of softness or grace. Just by looking at him, you could tell he was dependable like tempered steel, despite being somewhat unapproachable. The priest disappeared silently into the night, the darkness of his coat overpowering the moonlight. In awe, Sojiro watched him leave. He is like some kind of sage from the folk tales. In his own way, Sojiro was expressing affection. For some reason, Father Erie's distant tone made him feel nostalgic. Alice gave Sojiro a deathly stare.
気を許さないで。
Don't let your guard down. He's with the church.
私たちを監視する側
His job is to monitor us, but this time we had to ask for his help.
許されるなら。
If it were allowed, I'd make him disappear off the face of the earth. Her curse ringing in the air, Alice placed her hand on the doors to the chapel. They were twice her height, and who knows how heavy. It did not look like she could open them any time soon. Sojiro climbed the stairs 3 at a time and helped Alice push the towering doors inward. What the fuck? That is gorgeous. Someone take note. The dim light of the chapel brought with it the familiar scent of burning oil. The ecclesiastical interior was breathtaking. You are not wrong. The tall ceiling, the stained glass windows on every wall. It all felt intended to illustrate the presence of the Holy Spirit within those chambers. Like the foyer of the Kuonji estate, there was not a single heater. The bitter cold made the chapel feel more severe. Addie, over here. The gentle voice echoed through the chapel, incongruous to its surroundings. It was the voice of a woman. Ritsuka, is that you? Alice made her way past. That was not Alice's voice, but okay. Past the rows of pews toward the front altar. Sojiro closed the large door and hurried after her. You got here fast. I was just thinking of coming to see you. I had another pair of legs. Legs? Oh, you mean him. Sojiro showed himself, surprising the woman. They stared intently at each other, wondering what the other was doing here. You two know each other? Yes! We read that chapter! I wonder if skipping that chapter had any effect on this. Or not. Yes, although I didn't expect to see him here. Sojiro, when you said you'd move, you meant you were staying at Alice? Sojiro nodded. Alice turned visibly sour at this unexpected development. What you're talking about, Ritsuka? How do you know each other? Well, he always gave me a discount at the fish markets. Helped me with my bags, drank tea with me. He's like every housewife's best friend. That doesn't make any sense. You're not married, Ritsuka. Needless to say, Sojiro was also not a housewife's best friend, and all that suggested, but there were... Huh? Needless to say, Sojiro was also not a housewife's best friend, and all that suggested, but there were more urgent matters at hand. Ouch! You had to go there, huh? I can't slip anything by you, can I, Allie? Well, what do you expect? I never know when you're being serious, so I have to question every weird thing you say. Just look at us. We must have been separated at birth. Okay, I'll tell you the truth. I know him from the neighborhood association. He's not a spy or anything, not that he could be. I mean, just look at him. What? Is this true? I'm sorry, the fuck? Explain, please. I stared right at Sojiro to let him know she was mad at him for hiding this from her. The fuck is a neighborhood association? The HOA? Yes, I know her from my part-time job at the fish market. She was nice to me, so I gave her a free sardine to persuade her to come back. Exactly. Everybody who shops downtown knows Sojiro. If it bothers you so much, Allie, go see for yourself. He's the secret stud of the shopping district. She means I'm popular. Not that my prices are easy to hammer down like some nail on the wall. His apparent popularity would have to be questioned another time. Yeah, because that just doesn't sound like Sojiro. At all. Are we sure we're talking about the same person? Collecting herself, Alice focused on the door in the recesses of the church. I don't know what's going on with you, Ritsuka, but he's with Aoko now. That explanation will have to wait. It all makes sense now. So much to say in so little time. But we can get to that later. Fine, for you, Allie. I'll make an exception and offer him our protection. Alice nodded and began walking to the door. I'm taking it the priest does not shop downtown. Because otherwise he'd know who Sojiro was. Alice. Stay, Sojiro. As Sojiro was about to follow Alice, Ritsuka stepped in his way. You need to stay here. Leave it to the girls. She asserted bluntly. Meanwhile, Alice had reached the door and entered further into the chapel. That was Ritsuka who spoke. Got it. But why? It's for your own good. No normal person should see Aoko in the state she's in. It'll be too much for you. Unless, of course, you're so worried about her that you don't care about that. Sojiro was not able to give an immediate answer. It had finally hit him just how bad a state Aoko must be in. Based on Alice's condition when he found her, he intuited that Aoko's injuries might even be worse. Yes! He tried to imagine her expression in that state, but could not. I never worry about Aozaki. Literally, he had never been worried about her before. Not truly. I can't stop you, can I? No. He answered her reflexively. Ritsuka sighed at the boy's naivety, but nonetheless stepped aside. Go on, then. So, the door Alice used, fourth room in. Things are critical right now, so stay out of Yui's way. Sojiro thanked her and went after Alice, leaving Ritsuka Suse, the self-proclaimed everybody's friendly neighborhood, alone. Yuika will probably stop him, but someone's got to be in Sojiro's corner. I have a soft spot for broken boys. I know I'm playing rough with him, but it's for his own good. I say let him learn to regret. She spoke with force, but her words echoed aimlessly around the chapel. With a sigh, she shrugged her shoulders and made the sign of the cross in a rather unpious manner. The sound of Sojiro's footsteps grew fainter. His lack of hesitation had left a pain in her heart, and not because he did not look back at her, but because he was choosing to ignore primal fear inside of him. I mean, if there's one thing he's good at, it's ignoring fear. Oh, the chai tea. An elderly man once said, An animal's death and a human's... Nope, that's not what we're... Fuck it, we're just reading it. An animal's death and a human's are two different things. You may think that they are the same, but they differ to their core. Our heads have known the difference since the dawn of man. An animal's corpse, be it a pig's or a deer's, is different. If the swing of an axe or a machete is violent, then so must a human's corpse be. Therefore, before you see one with your own eyes, you should at least understand it with your ears. Listen closely, Sojiro. When a person dies, blood flows like a crimson river. It's too much to bear. Perhaps because he was not used to the stone path beneath his feet, Sojiro's mind wandered back to the words he heard as a child. Whoa, okay, this is the tone we're going for. The instant he opened the door, there was a palpable change in the air. The room was small, with only a simple bed and a small wooden dresser. Cat hair. And there on the bed, Aoko was lying on her side. I know that's Aoko. Tending to her was a woman he'd just seen in the chapel, Ritsuka. No, she looked a lot like her. Her eyes were closed and her garments covered in blood. He had met her maybe once before, Yuika Suse, a nun at the church. She was doing something to Aoko. Yuika held a pair of scissors and some thread. Her hands moved delicately yet quickly as though playing an organ. Her movements were precise as if flawlessly reading sheet music. One by one, the supply of bandages diminished. Bandages recently applied to the wounds were quickly replaced with fresh ones. Gauze was placed everywhere to try and cope with the amount of blood. Once white cloth was now dyed red and discarded. Dressing scattered around the floor resembled roses. In a wilted rose garden, the nun played her organ. The scene looked unlike any reality Sojiro knew. It was clear where the air had changed. There was a savage odor in the room. Even though he was experiencing it for the first time, he knew it was what it was. The smell burned into his lungs. He could not bring himself to look at the bed. Fighting his feelings, his eyes refused to move there. He noticed Alice next to the bed. Expressionless, he looked like a statue next to a grave, except she was trembling ever so slightly. It could have been from fear, anxiety, rage, or combination of the three. Before her lay a life on the verge of death. But whose life, it was difficult to tell with only a glance. Some sort of puppet covered in bandages, perhaps. Her hair should be beautiful, but it fell flat, disheveled. Despite her short breath, her chest convulsed, up, down, up, down. Facetious though the thought was, Sojiro recalled the rodeo machine on the roof of the department store. The painkillers and anesthesia could not have been working. New bandages were soaked crimson in seconds. Her fingernails bit into the sheets. Her face twisted in agony. Anesthesia would not be enough, so if she was still alive, she must be conscious too. It worried him that no one seemed concerned about this. In this state, she would surely lose her mind before her life. In short, the boy never wanted to see anything like this ever again. Bedsheets should be white, not red. With every blink, the color deepened. Sojiro was finally forced to accept that the bleeding mess in the center of it was her. He felt the blood surge in his veins. The squeaking of the bed, snip of the scissors, gasps of agony, it all faded. All he could hear was his own pounding heartbeat. The smell of the blood she choked up sent a weave of nausea through him. His knees abandoned him. And it was perfectly understandable. His brain had to shut his consciousness off to protect itself. The mind could only take so much reality. He would give anything to never see something like that again. Fuck.
そうか。青子ちゃんは全部わかっているんだね。
Silly me. You know everything, don't you, Aoko? Not just about you, but what happens after this too. What survives, what won't, you can see it all. And through it all, never lose sight of who you are. You were so strong. And on she went. I kind of liked her smile, but she just had to go and say the one thing I wish she hadn't. Last day of middle school seemed so long ago. As the ephemeral cherry blossom petals danced around, my little dream was crushed. I never really considered myself strong, at least until I began remembering those words from time to time. I thought you of all people would understand, Aozaki. I mean, of course you do. That's what makes you strong. And lately, an idiot who said things like that had appeared in my life. I knew I always judged people more harshly than those around me, but to have someone I'd only known for a few days point that out was like a stab in the chest. Not only that, the words sounded so similar. They made me so angry I couldn't see straight. Only him and one other person had ever said anything like that to me. And again, I suppose my sister said the same without actually saying it. You're different from us. But me being me, I took it as a curse rather than a compliment. My actions, my choices, my morals, all the good and bad I've done. When all is said and done, am I really better than everyone else? Of course I am. I'll never sacrifice myself for those around me. They just had to call me strong, true to myself, in spite of how alone, stubborn, and ridiculous I know I can be. When I was younger, it only confused me. I mean, I don't know any other way. I am who I am. The frustrating fact is, I simply don't have the courage to give up. So why? Why do I get treated special for doing what comes naturally? The sunlight stirred her. Maybe it was the pain from having her whole body held together by arcane threads. But Aoko felt like she had a silly dream. She gulped through her painful parchment throat. Gray rays of light shone through a small window, bringing her back to reality. I feel itchy. Unable to bear it, Aoko attempted to roll over, except she could only move her right arm. She tried lifting her arm, but couldn't feel anything past her elbow. When she stopped concentrating on her bandaged arm, it fell to the bed like a stone. Okay. Aoko took in her surroundings, moving only her eyes. Evidently, she had been asleep in this bed. Unable to feel certain parts of her body, she felt like a robot. The room was tiny and undecorated. It was like an apartment without a tenant. Judging by the good repair, she guessed that she was a night at church. Outside, it seemed closer to noon than morning. Clouds filled the sky as usual, dulling the sun's rays. Idly, she thought that it could be enough to melt the snow outside. And then finally she noticed the figure of a girl. Next to her bed, Alice Kounji was sitting in a chair, unmoving. Good morning, Alice, she called out to her, all too casually. It was more difficult to talk than she thought. Alice was her typical stoic self, although Aoko did notice a glimpse of concern in her eyes. You haven't slept, Alice. I can tell from your poor complexion.
努力はしたわ。
I tried.
トウコさんに飲まされた
I
もの
can't
が解
until
毒
the
されるま
substance
で
Toko
眠れ
made
そう
me
にないの。
swallow leaves my
半端
system.
な痛みはこういう
I
時に
suppose
流
my
れるよ
lukewarm
ね。
discomfort is a fart in a windstorm compared to what you're going through. Alice's uncharacteristically vulgar comment helped Aoko feel a little more like her usual self. She felt reassured having a comrade in arms by her side instead of a concerned neighbor.
そう。アリスもやられた
So,
の。
she got you too.
状況は大体予想してるけど、
I guess I
一
can
応
guess
最
how
後
it
を聞
went,
かせて
but
くれない？
fill me in on the details. Aoko remained horizontal as she spoke with a cool tone. Despite Aoko's condition, Alice granted her request. After all, they had known each other for 2 years. Alice knew exactly the kind of anesthesia Aoko Aozaki needed right now. Alice Koronji's battle with Toko Aozaki ended in the former's victory. The tamed troll was a special familiar, even among fairy tale monsters. While lacking the incredible reality warping abilities of Flat Snark, its sheer mass, durability, and strength were second to none. Toko's rune magecraft was rendered completely ineffective by its stone armor. In all fairness to Toko, most mages would not stand a chance against the bridge giant. The reason lay in the mystic's body. As a general law of magecraft, a mystic will lose to a stronger, older mystic. The history of the bridge giant dated well over 1,000 years. Its origin could be traced to the 1st century when Britannia was conquered by the Romans. Conversely, despite having roots dating back to the ages of gods, runes had unfortunately been lost to time. Rune magecraft was little more than an attempt to revive and use a dead art. However, monsters from fairy tales like the troll were different. They lived on in the hands of Alice Kuonji. The magical world was vast, and one could probably count on one hand the number of magecraft that still functioned after being chanted into existence millennia ago, as Alice's ploys did. In contrast, Toko, the rune user, was only about 2 decades old. Carving a rune took only a moment. There was no way a quick spell could defeat the personification of London Bridge in Alice's homeland. That being said, a beast had appeared that surpassed even those from fairy tales. Beowulf, the Golden Beast. It seemed absurd to compare a small, relatively powerless wolf to a towering stone giant. Tame's troll attacks were earthquaking. A direct hit from its 50-ton strikes would smash anything to pace, while a glancing blow would still create mincemeat, and yet the beast had attacked, head-on, torn right through it. The wolf's fur bristled, and then creature metamorphosed like liquid. It was a breathtaking display. The wolf howled at the moon as if in joy and streaked forth like a bolt of golden light. In an instant, the duel was decided. That was the hardest moment of the story. The radiant spear of a wolf flew straight through the giant's chest and sank its teeth into its heart. The troll exploded. Chunks of stony muscles rained down. Luminous fur scattered in the wind. Two mystics dispersed without a trace and returned from whence they came. The curtain fell on the battlefield straight out of mythology. There among the rubble of the fairy tale monster was the golden wolf standing like a flame. What came after could barely be described as a battle. It was more like a slaughter of defeated pawns. The wolf leapt on Alice, disemboweling her with ease. Its claws cut through the protective wards on Alice's coat like a hot knife through butter. The golden wolf. This wolf, which understood human speech, could only be the magical creature known as the werewolf. Werewolves were the forest people of Western Europe, the origins far more ancient than the fabricated vampire legends of the continent. However, none were known to have golden coats. It was said that the most elite werewolf bloodlines boasted silver fur. Silver werewolves were pack leaders, and werewolves of that caliber were considered phantasmal rather than merely magical creatures. But a golden werewolf was superior to even that, and so transcended human knowledge. Alice Kurunji's ploys were among the ultimate mystics to have been created by mankind. Therefore, the Golden Wolf could only have been a mystic born of the planet. When a celestial body has been active for millions, even billions of years, occasionally a miraculous droplet of creation spills over into our current world. This mystic had to be over 3,000 years old. A human mage? No. Any mage living in the current magical paradigm would be helpless against the Golden Wolf. Not even in theory would they stand a chance of defeating it, which meant that this werewolf was Aoko and Alice's worst nightmare. I see. If it was too much even for you, Alice, I never would have stood a chance. That means non-magical attacks should work on it, right? Tames is powered by magical energy, but isn't its punch just raw force? One hit, and it's game over. It's not that simple, unfortunately. His base form was a wolf, but he can transform to adapt to the situation. He took Tame's punch by turning into a giant ape-like thing. Even if we used a machine gun or a rocket launcher, he could probably transform into something to defend himself. So, he can turn into any living creature. What about his mass? He can't change that, can he? Why'd he have to be well over 6 feet tall on top of all his other strengths? Random question, but what if he could turn into a sea creature? That'd be just awful. Aoko narrowed her eyes as she bemoaned this creature's existence. The conversation appeared to have revived her fighting spirit once again. Her eyes were focused on her thoughts clear. Aoko was back to her usual self. So, what happened? Were you able to escape? The wolf had its way with me next. Alex explained how the wolf had pinned her to the ground. Incidentally, she kept the part about Sojiro rather short. Alice herself was not entirely sure why she felt it necessary to leave most of that information out. So, Toko came straight to me after fighting you. That was your plan, sis. You wanted to end this all yesterday. It was my mistake for forgetting. We always did have a habit of having the same thought at the same time. Once you reveal your hand to the enemy, you have to take them out. She waited until she was down to the last 2 sigils to reveal herself and divide her strength. I knew she'd do something like that, but I never imagined she'd have a frickin' werewolf with her. Aoko let out a heavy sigh. Alice nodded slightly in agreement. What? I don't know what happened there. We went backwards. We rewind time. Where are we? I lost track. Where are we? Anyway, I can't believe Sojiro came to your rescue. I know I should be grateful, but He's such an idiot.
私がトウコの立場なら
If I was in Toko's shoes, I'd be tying up any loose ends. After dealing with us, wiping him out should have been a piece of cake.
君ならこちらで保護してもらう
Shizuki is under the church's protection now. Aoko's eyes widened.
どういうこと
What?
質問し
Am I hearing things?
アリスがあいつの世話を焼くなんて
You actually went out of your way to protect him?
放っておい
I
た
was
ら
thinking of you.
怒ると思う
We wouldn't want you getting angry now, would we? Alice responded with her eyes closed. Aoko frowned in slight indignation, as if she wanted to protest where Alice got that idea from.
まあいいけど
Well, whatever. He's here now, I assume. But
姿
where?
が見えないけど
Still unable to move her neck, she looked around as best she could.
彼なら気分を悪くして倒れたわ今はエイリ神父の寝室を借り
He
ている
collapsed, so he's resting in Father Erie's bedroom. Aoko furrowed her brow at collapsed. Sure, he was under the church's protection, but had Toko set the wheels in motion for his death? What exactly happened to him? Alice paused for a moment before carefully answering the question. Well,
あなた
when
に
he saw you,
言おうとしたの
he vomited. She had decided to be blunt. Aoko was taken aback. For several seconds, dim sunlight leaked through the window. When she had found her voice again, she muttered.
いいけどひどい侮辱よねそれって
That's kind of rude, though. Perhaps amused or perhaps exhausted from staying up all night, Alice cracked a tiny giggle.
何よそんなにおかしい
Alice, what's so funny?
さあどうか
Oh,
しら
nothing. Shizuki had his reasons, I'm
静
sure.
君にも言い分はあ
You
る
were
でし
in
ょ
a bad state, Aoko.
今のあなたとても見られた
Aoko
もの
praised
じゃ
her
ないわ
physical state. She was dressed in a hospital gown. Bandages covered the majority of her body. Her right leg was in a plaster cast. Since she could move her right arm, she brought her bandaged fingers up to her throat.
そっか思い出した
Oh, yeah.
あのガキ
I remember
私の
now.
首元に噛みついたんだって
That little shit bit my
すごか
neck.
ったのよ首が噛み砕
It
かれ
was
るの
crazy being torn to pieces like
ゴ
that.
キンって音が頭の
I
中
even
に
heard my
響い
neck
て
snapping.
気持ち悪いったらな
Gross. Doesn't even do the feeling justice.
あそこから好き勝手言われたもんだから
He played with me like some kind of chew toy. I almost wish I could forget. Aoko sounded upbeat, but the look in her eyes was anything but. She had been torn to pieces, but her life had been mercifully spared. At least she hadn't been dismembered. She had been bitten, beaten, and her bones broken. Magic crests containing the Aozaki's secret arts decorated her body. Even if her spine was broken, as long as her body was alive, the crests would piece it back together. Despite the crests easing the pain a little, she still hurt enough to want to kill that wolf 100 times over.
視点は全部壊された
If all the sigils have been broken, Misaki City's ley lines are wide open. We thought we had the edge of having the big picture of the area, but if Toko's known for a while, then she's a step ahead of us. Let's be real. How long do you think it'll take her to transfer dominion rights? For Toko, it won't even take her 2 days. She has no choice but to wait for the land itself to restore the sigils. By the time the defenses are in working order again, this town will be as good as hers. So come tomorrow, I lose everything. What about you, Alice? Any fight left in you? I can manage a little bit of mental magecraft. After that, I'd be relying on trinkets. That won't cut it. Aoko went silent again. Staring straight at the ceiling, Alice knew all too well what that look meant. You're still planning on fighting, aren't you, Aoko? Can you blame me? It's not like I can give up. What about you? Once something is mine, it stays mine. Aoko muttered in agreement to Alice's terse response. Alice's intense attachment to her possessions was enough to make even Aoko shiver. When something is mine, it stays mine. To take it a step further, betrayal was an unforgivable sin. His personal motto was further proof of her uncompromising nature. Okay, then it settles it. I'm going to get some rest. Come hell or high water, I'll be ready by tonight. If the nun who stitched her back together had heard that, she would have fainted. Or smacked the shit out of her. Because that's what I want to do, just... But they're also on a time crunch, so... I can't blame her. Aoko could barely even eat in her current condition. Even so, Alice nodded and stood up. As Aoko's partner, she knew that once her mind was made up, she had to trust her. Silently, the girl in black began to take her leave. Oh. She stopped in front of the door, her hand to her mouth. Alice? Aoko was curious, suspecting that Alice had something silly to say. Quite the contrary. Instead of blushing, Alice furrowed her brow like she was thinking over a difficult riddle. Alice? Hello? Aoko called out. Alice remained with her back to her roommate. How did he make it to me in time? She spoke as if the words had accidentally burst out of her thoughts. Alice's question was about something Aoko could not possibly have guessed. It happened before, too. Even though we took the first train back. She carried on, mumbling at the door. Unable to find an answer, Alice gloomily put her hand on the doorknob. If you don't want to say, it's fine. But if you do, then spit it out already. Alice did not respond. She opened the door to leave the room and left a few words hanging in the air. It might be nothing. By the way, Yuika said she couldn't see Shizuki. The door closed with a thud. Huh? That doesn't happen every day. Aoko mumbled to herself from her bed, seeming slightly happier. Blind since birth, Yuika Susei saw the world through her other senses. She was especially sensitive to enemies or those who bore ill will, and typically viewed almost everyone as a threat, presumably because that was the easiest thing to pick up on. So when she said she couldn't see Sojiro, that meant he was completely harmless. And then, that harmless individual decided to pay a small sick room a visit. Sojiro looked like a stiff breeze could knock him over, and it made Aoko wonder who the real patient was. What do you want? Though Aoko could barely move, she was still able to give him the cold shoulder. His expression gaunt, Sojiro grunted something or other before beginning to speak more coherently. Alice was sleeping in the guest room, and I was in the chapel. People started coming in, so I came here. Ah, must be time to worship. It is Christmas. It was indeed Christmas, but regular Mass was on Christmas Eve. The ones gathering in the chapel must have been truly devout followers. Tourists were rare in Misaki after all, so much so that almost no one visited the area at this time of year. The worshippers must have been locals. So, why do you care? There might be someone there for you. Someone there, you know? Aoko was as distant as ever. She clearly had not forgotten the fact he had vomited when he saw her, and a hint of spite leaked into her voice. Then again, it's nothing. It's not that. I just thought it might be a good chance to ask you some things. Can we talk for a bit? Since Aoko was always in a bad mood, Sojiro did not pick up on anything out of the ordinary. She wanted to tell him to go drink some water because he looked ready to collapse, but he didn't seem aware of his own condition. And to be fair to him, Alice did say Aoko was in a bad shape. Given how unaccustomed to blood Sojiro was, it was no wonder he had fainted. Oh, of course. You're probably still too injured to talk. Sorry. I'll come back later. Sojiro seemed to have misunderstood Aoko being deep in thought as not having enough stamina to speak. Naturally, this did not sit well with Aoko. Hold it right there. If you came to talk, I could talk just fine. I've been cooped up in here so I could use the distraction. Okay, so you're not the best distraction, but beggars can't be choosers. Sojiro sensed this was going to be rough, but took a seat on the chair next to the bed. So, what do you want to ask me? Aoko spoke energetically in an attempt to distract from her weakened appearance. Naturally, she knew she was fooling no one. You really are strong. You really are strong, Naozaki. I'm relieved to see that you're okay. Sojiro said, nodding in admiration. Aoko shot him an unimpressed look in response to the unwanted praise. Honestly, you have the worst timing. Nothing. Forget it. Just something from a dream. It's nothing to do with you. She glowered, remembering. Come to think of it, almost everyone in her dream was here in the church, turning her door expression into an irritated one. Enough about that. You said you had questions, so out with them. Alright, can you tell me what's going on? I mean, with Toko, now that I'm involved in all. Sojiro spoke calmly, making Aoko wonder if he really understood the gravity of this situation. He was Toko's enemy now. He was defenseless and needed protection. Neither Aoko nor Alice could help him, and the church could withdraw their sanctuary at any moment. He had picked a side, and that had turned him from innocent bystander into target. The answer he sought was as simple as that. He knew the facts. He was not a mage, and therefore powerless. I guess you did help Alice. Aoko did owe him for that. To say thanks, she decided to at least give him the whole story up until now. Okay, I'll quickly walk you through everything. You know, maybe even I'll get something out of it. Aoko composed herself before beginning her explanation. The battle began at the end of November. A lot had happened since then, including meeting Sojiro. It all started a month ago, when the edge of the bound field from Misaki City was taken down. The 5th time since I became successor, Misaki City was officially under attack. This time, instead of attacking us directly, the enemy started by taking down the land. Everyone that had come before her had been a bunch of amateurs all full of themselves, attacking us head-on. They all ended up as kibble for Alice's watchdog. Anyway, 2 types of bound fields surround this area. One detects intruders, one siphons energy from the land. The enemy attacked the latter. If the entire field is destroyed, then Alice and I effectively lose ownership of this land. Without land, we become no different than rogue mages. Of course, we had another field set up to detect intruders, but it didn't do what it was supposed to do. And now we know why. The enemy was my sister, Toko Awazaki. Awazaki-bounded fields aren't going to recognize a fellow Awazaki as a threat. Alternatively, she may have just known about a blind spot and slipped in that way. As the original successor, it's only natural she'd have the knowledge to begin with. So, she was invisible to us. She had free rein to break bounded field sigils. She deliberately attacked them slowly, one by one, to make us think it was an outsider. If she'd broken them all at once, I'd suspect it was one of my relatives, such as someone with the Asagi family, from the Asagi family. While we were stupid to fall for her little game, it's also possible it took her a long time to destroy the field. Our fields are made of strong stuff. They typically last for 6 months. An enemy would need to figure out how many sigils supported the field, what elements comprise them, and the correct order to take them down. All the while making sure the mages they belong to don't notice. If we did notice, we'd locate the intruder's base and eliminate them before any damage could be done. So, bounded fields are either broken during a drawn-out battle or preemptively broken before it even starts. Usually the enemy threatens to break the sigils to lure the landowner out. Then things get settled there. And then with a duel between mages. Doing that eliminates the need to completely destroy a field. It's much faster to take out the landowner, and as long as they can decipher the formula, seize the field and land afterward. If you don't destroy the fields, you don't have to remake them. Besides, ones that have been in the land for years are stronger. That was how Aoko and Alice were duped. They never thought the enemy would waste time and effort needed to break all sigils. That's why Alice and I went on the defensive. We figured we could surprise the enemy while they searched for the sigils, take them out one by one. But that's when things started to go south, when a certain busybody saw something that he shouldn't have at the local park. Indeed, it was the ultimate taboo in the world of magecraft. The existence of mages must never be revealed to outsiders. And you know the rest, right? I had no choice but to leave our battle with the enemy to Alice and devote my time to searching for eyewitnesses. And in case you haven't realized, I'm talking about you. So, don't give me a soppy look like you're surprised. No sooner had Aoko said that, Sojiro gave her that exact look. Clearly he had been listening, but not necessarily understanding. Whatever. It's water under the bridge. Actually, thanks to your cluelessness, our secret is still safe. Anyway, the fact I went looking for you worked in the enemy's favor. Alice was their biggest threat. With us separated, she could take me out, and that's when she sent her special puppet. And so, I thought at the time, it turns out she only sent it to mess with me. Otherwise, why use a puppet that looked just like me? Sojiro nodded, thinking back to Aoko's replica. Remember, I'd prefer it if you forget about that incident altogether. After that, you can fill in the blanks. Alice and I turned our attention to fighting the enemy, spending most nights tracking her fruitlessly until the fight last night. Hold up! That is fucked up. The girl sent a doll after Aoko that looked exactly like her to fuck with her. That is not okay. I'm going to send my sister to kill my sister and fuck with her. Just so I can, take control of the land. I'm going to make her fight herself. No, that's not okay. I'm now uncomfortable with this chick. A piece of me was hoping they'd make up, but no, not anymore, no. That's the long and short of it. She stared down at her body, as if recalling what had happened would help her accept her current state. Under the sheet, magical energy steadily flowed through her partially bandaged body. Okay, Aozaki, I think I'm all caught up. But what about you? Why are you in this state? Sojiro's specific concern was the reason Aoko was lying there. More than anything, he wanted to know what had happened to her the night before. Simple. We lost. What more is there to say? Judging by her tone, she would have raised both hands sarcastically in celebration, if she could. You lost? Yep, it sucks, but there's no getting around it. The moment all 5 sigils were broken, it was over. The land rights are up in the air until tomorrow when Toko claims them. In trying to prevent that, Alice and I ended up like this. The tables have turned, so from here on, we'll be the challengers, we are the rogue mages. Which meant that Aoko, Alice, and Sojiro only had a few more days with which to utilize the church's services. Aida Church was not only an arm of the Mages Association, but also a branch of the Holy Church that monitored heresy. What? I can't think of a single Christian that would be sitting here going, yeah, let's help witches. Let's help magic. Buckle up, children, because we're in for a ride and a half now. Aoko and Alice were owners of Misaki City. Spiritual lands, but they belonged to neither of these organizations. The only reason the church helped them at all was because they were the land's administrators. Once those rights were lost, the church would have no reason to provide any further aid. Father Eri is helping us because he's neutral in all this, but Yuika is a church executor. Once I'm healed, she'll kick me out. The church sees mages as their professional competition. There it is. There it is. That stupid Ritsuka. Well, she might help out if I cried. Sojiro understood little of what Aoko was talking about. I didn't mean that, Aozaki. I meant what actually happened last night. Sojiro pressed her, and Aoko really wished he had not. You can't tell by looking. They wiped the floor with me. My throat was torn to pieces along with the rest of me. My right thigh was basically gone. If it wasn't for Alice's chocolate, I'd have bled to death. She knocked on the cast around her leg. Aoko spoke casually, but was trying to hide how much she wanted revenge for being humiliated. The chocolate is the birds? Okay. How do I get some of this chocolate? In contrast, Sojiro felt empty. The little color he had in his face began to fade. Was he repulsed by the terrible situation, or was his instincts telling him to flee? Regardless, he appeared very human. What the hell is wrong with you? Oh, wait. I know. You were stupid enough to look at me and throw up. Am I right? Well, you can stop worrying. I'm in one piece now. Yuika's a pro, and I'm still alive. Regeneration is a specialty of the Aozaki mages, so I'll be fine. She gave him a reassuring look, but his expression was unchanged. Aoko had expected him to worry, but this level of concern made it hard for her to berate him. Feeling embarrassed, she started talking again. The question is, how on earth did my sister manage to tame a golden wolf? I didn't think they even existed. He's a relic from the age of the gods. You'd need magecraft a millennium in the making just to stand a chance against him, never mind trying to take him in a fist fight. As images of the night before entered Aoko's mind, she bit her lip in anguish. A golden wolf? Conversely, the bizarre phrase snapped Sojiro out of his state of shock. Yeah, a golden wolf. A golden werewolf, to be exact. Then again, you probably never heard of a werewolf. Think part human, part wolf, and only the best parts. It's a magical beast as opposed to a wild one. Way to make werewolves way cooler than they are. There are ways to deal with regular werewolves, but the one with Toko is a golden coat. He's a descendant of the first werewolves, a transcended magical beast, phantasmal beast. To take such a pure monster, you'd need a mystic with longer history or some really secret magecraft. Nothing else will even scratch him. Magecraft can do almost anything, but it just can't compete with something so ancient. He's the kind of natural disaster that any human mage dreads fighting. Her words indicated more admiration than hatred. The way she whispered about the wolf strangely made sense to Sojiro. What is... Out with it already? Oh, I was just thinking, how there's something out there that even you and Alice can't defeat. It must be truly awful. It tore apart Alice's stomach, and you, well, you don't have anywhere that wasn't torn apart. How could a kid actually... I guess it's because he's a kid that he doesn't know how to hold back. Sojiro's face was ghostly pale as he muttered nervously. Aoko merely nodded in agreement. Now you get it. What kid has the nerve to do that to someone's... Wait, what did you just say? Aoko raised her head. She looked as if she had seen a ghost. Did you just say kid? How the heck do you know that? I realized it was him that day. I'd never seen someone with such golden hair in my life. It has to have been him. Fuck! It's the kid from the... Okay. What in the world? That's the entire trip out there to rescue what's-his-face. Yeah, dude. Man, what? Okay. Kinomi wanted me to run after him. I told him no way. Of course the kid freaked me out. I knew there was no catching him. His tone was as curious as the things he was trying to articulate. Aoko, however, had more pressing matters. Much more pressing. You saw him? Where? At the old school campus. Come to think of it, I might even have met him. Just once when I was working. I delivered 50 kilos of raw beef and... Oh my god! You absolute idiot! A strangely satisfying slapping sound rang out. Ignoring her wounds completely, Aoko had grabbed a slipper and thrown at Sojiro's unassuming face as hard as she could. She panted as Sojiro was knocked completely out of his chair. For a while, neither moved. What was that for, Aozaki? The boy asked, unfazed, as he slowly picked himself back up. This can't be the first time. Did he get slapped before? I'm like 90% certain you've been slapped at least 6 more times by this girl. He sat cross-legged as Aoko scowled at him with an enemy check. What do you think? Who keeps something like that to themselves? A boy who has no idea what the fuck he's doing. I didn't really think it was worth mentioning. Even if I had, the two of you would have just gotten mad at me. Aoko knew he was right, and so she swallowed her words. How about your pride? Swallow your pride, girl. She imagined themselves at dinner. You'll never guess what I did today. I delivered a mountain of beef to an animal. One animal. Rich people live in a different world, am I right? If he had actually said it, Aoko and Alice's response would have been less than cordial. Okay, you're probably right. Anyway, was there really a golden-haired child at the old school building? I don't know whether he was your werewolf, and we've had some strange orders from restaurants in town, especially that Imperial Metropolis near the station. That makes sense. There was no way he could eat without drawing lots of attention to himself. She did not want to believe it, but the child had to be the werewolf. Could Toko really have been so careless as to hide him in plain sight? Or was that the best place to hide it? No one would expect to look in plain sight for a werewolf. She had you by the ropes. You were on the defensive. You didn't expect a werewolf to exist, let alone a golden werewolf. It didn't matter at this point. With the werewolf's habitat revealed, Toko's base had finally been revealed too. To take over the bounded field, she needed an inconspicuous place to store materials. Misaki High's old school building was the perfect place. Huh. You were the key to the puzzle this whole time. I wasn't hiding anything. If you'd actually help with cleaning the back hills, you'd have found out for yourself. You shouldn't have left it to Tobimaru. In response to Sojiro's infallible logic, Aoko snapped her fingers. And she's choking him. Instead of another slipper missile, she let the faithful white collar express how she felt. And with the tightening of the collar, Sojiro realized something. Aoko had changed. From the bed, she looked down on him with a commanding glare. Though weak from her injury, she was as sharp as ever. You would be forgiven for forgetting she was ever patient. She was raring to fight. It went without saying who her rage was directed at. Aozaki? Aozaki responded with a vulnerable tone. Perhaps she was taken by surprise. Now she had an objective. She had been lost in her own little world. Thanks, Sojiro. He expected her to be sarcastic, but this was different. She was genuinely thanking him. He had never known her to be like this and was taken aback. I'm just showing my appreciation because you helped me figure out where Toko's hideout is. Satisfied? Sure. It's nice to be thanked, but are you seriously going after Toko in this condition? His tone was closer to scolding than sympathetic. Aoko simply nodded resolutely. I'm just going to take back what's mine, while I still can. My sister won't waste a moment, and neither will I. She sounded unshakable. Even so, Sojiro would not back down. Even if you've got almost no chance of winning, what you need right now is rest. Yesterday you were really messed up, and you still are now. You're lucky to be alive. It's not luck. It's Toko. I don't understand. Toko. She's purposely kept me alive to taunt me. To make me try again. She's waiting for me so we can settle the score. If she wasn't waiting, she'd have made her move already. As much as it pains me to, I'm taking your words to heart. Irritation tainted Aoko's words. From the side, she looked terrifyingly serious. She was ready to fight to the death. Toko had given her little choice. Sojiro can understand neither sister. Toko left you alive so she could kill you later, and yet you're still going after her. Exactly. She might have won the battle, but she hasn't won the war. I know I'd have a better chance fully healed, but while I'm recovering, Toko has gotten her claws into Misaki. That means I need to play my trump card. I have to do what I can while I can. Through the pain in her azure eyes, she was not as deep as the pain of death. It spoke of the regret she would feel if she did not do everything possible while blood still flowed through her veins.
納得いったのに黙ってる。
Understand now? Good. Then don't try to stop me.
これは私の戦い。
Listen to me, Sojiro.
あんたには何の責
You're
任も
not responsible for anything. Not my life, and not this fight. And I refuse to sit in bed waiting to die. Who'd do that if they felt they could win? Sojiro was dumbstruck. Aoko could never let anyone else get involved. Whether that was because she cared or cared less, he could not tell. What he did understand, though, was if he wanted to stop her, he would have to do so with his bare hands. And he knew better than to try that. Even so, he had to ask one last question. If he did not, he would not be able to live with himself after leaving this room. I don't get why you need to go to these lengths. Is it out of obligation, or are you just forcing yourself? There was a sadness in his eyes, however, Aoko was unmoved by them.
らしくなく難しいこと聞いてくるんだ。
It's not like you to ask something so deep.
口にしても
Alright,
仕方のないこと
I'll answer even though it won't change anything. To be honest, I'm caught between the two.
勘違いもしない。
Don't get me wrong, though. Any sense of obligation, compulsion, pride, or fear comes from me and me alone. My grandfather wouldn't be mad if I stopped fighting Toko. I doubt Alice would complain either. If I chose to run, nobody would give it a second thought. That's why this is all on me. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense,
私は遠く
but I won't run away from Toko. All that matters is proving to myself that I'm alive. I know that my life has no meaning, and that's why I can do anything. With fiery passion, Aoko Aozaki had said her piece. Sojiro was left with a pang in his chest. He did not know why, but her words angered him. And again, at the same time, her self-confidence had him to wonder. Even though she had said that her life had no meaning, her stubbornness gave meaning to everything. So, would that still apply if... Without thinking, he started to ask another question. Maybe he wanted to change her mind. Maybe he just wanted to hear her answer. If, say, no one was watching, it came out as a murmur. Indeed, if no one was watching, no one would know that she had fled. This was the situation Aoko was in. Even so, she shot him down instantly.
あら、見てるの？
Someone's always watching you, even if it's only yourself. Her expression brightened, possibly because she had been surprised at having to state the obvious. Sojiro was wide-eyed in shock, but Aoko remained nonchalant.
知らないの、操縦を。
Haven't you figured it out yet, Sojiro?
これで一番の
Nobody watches you more than you. That's why you have to stay on your toes.
だから人生っていうのに油断ならないんじゃない？
Sojiro did not respond to her somewhat exasperated tone, but simply rose to his feet. He looked defeated, which was not like him at all. Sojiro? I'm sorry. I know you're saying something really incredible. It's just... I don't understand it. He meekly walked toward the door. As he placed his hand on the doorknob, he paused. For a few seconds, he fought with himself, desperately trying to think of something to say. No words came forth, and so he opened the door, which swung with a strange creak, and he left the room. After watching him go, Aoko turned her gaze toward the window. It was nearly evening. A thin veil of darkness was threatening to descend on the town outside. By evening, only Sojiro remained in the chapel. He sat alone at the end of a pew, slouching helplessly like a guilty believer, ready to confess. The chilly air sleeped through the walls, turning breath to mist. frigid air stole the hot heat from the body without mercy. Sojiro looked around at the chapel's tall ceiling and spacious hall. The room made the air feel colder somehow. Unsure of what to do with himself, he stared into space. His thoughts were entirely unfocused. First and foremost, he could not understand what the buzzing sensation was in his chest. Time passed by, no answers came. To onlookers, he must have seemed deep in thought or in a deep sleep, like he would turn to stone if left be. Either way, he clearly looked down. The problem was his lack of awareness. Not that he was aware of it, of course. Worshipping at this hour, you seem you're quite the devotee. Sojiro raised his hand and turned to where the voice had come from. Stood before the altar was the man from last night, dressed in priestly garbs. How long had he been standing there? Sound reverberated dryly through the chapel hall. Sojiro did not have the strength to stand, let alone leave. He just stared at the approaching shadow. Though you'll not find the Holy Spirit in this church. Do you mind if I sit? The priest pointed at Sojiro's pew. Without waiting for an answer, he took a seat at the opposite end. I never formally introduced myself. I am Eri Fumitsuka, this church's owner. You could say so on paper. At least, call me Father Eri. You must be Sojiro Shizuki, yes? I can see why Yuika didn't notice you. Father Eri spoke in a gentle but uninvested tone. He was a thorough egoist. Sojiro knew all too well about people who spoke this way. The individual who cared for him when he first came down from the mountain was one of them. Sojiro glanced across him apathetically. Father Eri seemed unfazed by the lack of direction to the conversation. I was wondering if I could speak with you for a moment. Sojiro responded with a nod. Father Eri replied with an artificial smile. You seem terribly worried about Aoko. No, not really. Ritsuka said the same thing to me, but that's not it. Sojiro stared straight ahead as he answered, his voice sounding uncharacteristically weak and unsure. She's been on my mind a lot, and I don't know why. I'm trying to figure that out. Your answer's simple. You envy her. At those few words, Sojiro snapped out of his funk. He clapped his hands and turned toward the priest. I see. So, I just envy her? Wait a second, that can't be good. I didn't know I could feel that way. Father Eri did not respond to his confession like ramblings. So, what did you want to talk to me about? Well, it's more of a question I'd like to ask, really. I heard you lived deep in the mountains until recently. Something strikes me as curious. Really? What? Well, I doubt anyone has asked you this before. No doubt because you don't unnerve the people around you. I admit, I feel the same way, talking to you. Maybe it's the opportunity presenting itself, or my sense of obligation as a man of the cloth. But when I see a lost lamb, I feel a need to guide it. Father Eri looked at Sojiro placidly. His pupils were like black holes that could suck the soul out of your body. I'm not sure what you're talking about. What's your question exactly? Oh, don't worry. It's nothing unusual. Simply, why did you come down here? You seem like you'd be happier back home. Sojiro was not sure what he had done, but it sounded as though the priest was accusing him of something. Then again, it was a reasonable question, if a little pointless. It's one of the many questions I have about this boy that have yet to be answered. Sojiro had no answer. Father Erie ignored the sullen boy and continued, I'm somewhat aware of the challenges a life in the mountains might bring. I experienced it firsthand when I made a small mistake in my youth. Life in the mountains is incredibly simple. Your time is dedicated to survival. You don't live for joy, but rather to stay alive. It makes a minimalist lifestyle seem full of excesses. Compared to that, city life should be nothing short of paradise. However, paradise means something different to everyone. Soichiro still did not answer. His expression remained blank. The only sound was the priest's voice echoing around the chapel. A life where even a single seed could bring joy. No matter the warmth the light of electricity brings, I expect you respect the bitter cold of nature more. So tell me, why come here when you're happier in the mountains? Father Erie repeated his question. Sojiro's mouth remained firmly shut. Not because he did not want to answer, but because he simply didn't know how to. All he knew was if he wanted to go back, he could not. My son, salvation will not be forthcoming to those who choose to ignore its calling. If you do not know why you left, you won't be able to love where you arrived. A word of advice. A word of advice. Happiness doesn't come from the unquestionable acceptance of everything. Be fair to yourself. Sojiro could not make sense of what he was being told. Only the father's last words made an impression on him. Being fairer to yourself is easier said than done, of course, and what that entailed, Sojiro was uncertain of. Actually, that makes sense. Toko had mentioned something similar before, and it had impressed him. First her, now this priest. How could people know things he hadn't even told them? Wow. Are all priests like you? Sojiro said, curious as to where the weight on his shoulders had gone to. In a way, one of his strong points is the fact that his emotional scars do not show on the surface. Indeed, a priest is obliged to shine a light on troubled hearts. Though, of course, that's not always enough. By shine a light, do you mean talk things over? Yes, to a certain extent at least. The only problems I can solve are mostly small. The priest shrugged, looking a little disconcerted. Granted, Sojiro still did not trust Father Erie at all, but at that moment, anyone was a ray of light in his eyes. Do you mind helping me with another small problem? You want to know why you're envious of Aoko, correct? It was as though the priest could see into a boy's soul with his serene eyes. Well, yeah. I don't even know why I feel this way myself. But you seem to. I don't. I can simply guess, not being the one to shoulder the burden. Your envy may come from your lack of foundation, or more accurately, your lack of a color of your own. Sojiro squinted, trying to understand the priest's complicated yet concise answer. This is what I'm talking about. You are extraordinarily flexible. You learned to live alone in a city after coming down from the mountains. And then, once you'd gotten used to it, you started living with Aoko and Alice in a very different world. I don't know if you consciously tried to adapt, but regardless, your ability to do so is astonishing. Also, I don't know why, but you do not appear to exhibit signs of a regular ego. You can respond to anything but aren't influenced by it. To be frank, you're a blank canvas that stays blank. While blending to your surroundings is a wonderful thing, no sense of self that means having no place to call home. Your talent is a double-edged sword. The fact Yuika didn't see you was unexpected. She can perceive even incorporeal elemental spirits, and yet not you. It says a lot about your lack of greed. As if amused by something, Father Eerie grinned. However, Sojiro understood neither the meaning of his smile nor his words. There is a speculation, but I believe Aoko feels resentment when she looks at you. To a brazen soul like her, your lack of self is something she simply cannot accept. And yet, you see something in Aoko you can never attain. It feels crude to put such things into words, but it is what it is. A moment ago, I said you envied Aoko, but that's not quite true. In fact, no, never mind. Some things are best left unsaid. Father Eerie smiled gently. It was a fresh-faced grin that believed his age. Whenever it came to Aoko, he seemed to forget his role as a priest. That was irrelevant to Sojiro. So, Father, what exactly do I admire about Aoko then? Sojiro responded to Father Eerie's rambling by being direct. Some would say the priest had been direct himself, but this was Sojiro, and he needed things spelled out. You still don't get it. And you have me beat, Sojiro. Some things really are difficult to put into words. Then again, I am simply a man of the cloth. How about a change of tack? Do you know about Aoko's past? Not much. She told me some weird stuff I didn't understand about her start to high school and things. So by not much, you mean nothing. Very well, Shizuki, allow me to try something more abstract. If you were suddenly told to kill yourself, could you? Kill myself? Yes, kill yourself. Of course, a priest shouldn't talk about such things, but my appearance is only skin deep. Anyway, Aoko was asked to do something along those lines when she was 15. Throw away her hopes and dreams, her past and future, everything she was up to that point. Become a different being entirely. Well, the end of yourself is the end of your future, wouldn't you agree? His words fit what Aoko had said about her past. Until middle school, she had led a normal life. Then out of the blue, she became the family heiress in place of her sister. Becoming a magician meant casting aside the life she had known. She had to leave behind her ambitions and prospects and live the life of a mage, something she barely knew anything about. Her life up to that point had taught her that everything from then on would bring her misery. Aoko's grandfather was not the forceful type. Your sister had failed, now it's your turn, he had said. Did Aoko resist? Sojiro could not begin to imagine. All he knew is that she could not be happy with the hand she was dealt. Even if the life of a magician was attractive, to believe the possibility that Aoko could give up her lifestyle up to that point was to not know her at all. Aoko Aozaki put her all into everything. She had probably achieved a lot in those 15 years. Her achievements and prospects were no doubt enough to make anyone jealous. But did she have the conviction to those away and go back to square one? And square one did not come close to the reality of it. The future she had visioned for so long would have been obliterated. So, what did Aoko do? Well, we're talking about one exceptionally stubborn girl. Had I not witnessed it myself, I wouldn't have believed it, but she nodded. She stood there defiantly, curling her shaking fingers into balled fists. Not to appease her grandfather, not out of obligation to the Aozaki family, because she hates to run away from anything. Now, refusing something is not the same as running away from it, but try telling that to Aoko. To her, running away would be rejecting the life she forged. If that was all to go, she would say farewell to her on her own terms. So that was what she did. Extreme, but she's the kind of person who would sacrifice everything in the name of progress. An affectionate smile crossed Father Erie's face. Rather than signaling his closeness to Aoko, it conveyed the pride of a guardian. However, I was also mistaken, as it turns out Aoko had been raised to become a mage all along. Her grandfather predicted Toko would leave and that Aoko would become his heiress, so he raised them both accordingly. As a priest, if only by name, I felt uncomfortable about that. I knew he had no interest in her role. Things could hardly go exactly how her grandfather had planned, so I asked her to flee with me to Mexico. Alas, she turned me down without a moment's thought. Still, I remember every word of her answer. Well, me crying isn't going to change anything, is it? If I'm the only one who can do it, I'll do it. Even if I get thrown to the wolves, I'll just have to find a way to survive. Running away is only a last resort. Until then, hear me roar. The priest recited her words as if recalling lines from a favorite play. It certainly seemed like something she would say. The last thing Aoko said in the room, she was recovering and probably meant the same. Of course, when an audience is watching, you want their approval. However, approval must come from within first. Aoko worked to feel proud of herself before worrying about how others viewed her. At least she wanted to do her job with grace. In response to everything she had lost, she would hang in there, even if it meant going it alone. As for why Sojiro envied her, well, that was obvious. To Sojiro, she lived her life with her head held high. He was a boy who accepted everything but had nothing. She was a girl who threw it all away but never lost a thing. He stood in the meeting room alone, seeing the ugliness within, with the sublime outside. Looking back, he finally realized what was eating at him. I think you see it now. It's not her appearance that strikes you as beautiful, but her spirit. Not that she isn't physically beautiful, of course. Sojiro nodded. From the day he first met her, that was indeed how he felt. It just took him till now to realize it. The strength in her eyes and her unwavering will had captured his heart. She puts up with a lot. She really does. There's a lot of fight packed into that small frame. Father Erie spoke from the heart. Sojiro raised his head, gave a small grin, and scratched his cheek. So many hours wasted brooding like an idiot. A part of him still felt strange, but it didn't bother him to leave the question unsolved for now. Unable to stay still, he stood up. He couldn't care less about the Aozaki family, mage battles, or Aoko rushing off to her death. Right now, he just wanted to see her face. Stop right there. This recovery room is off limits. The cold words echoed around the chapel. They reached Sojiro as he was about to head back to Aoko. The slightless sister must have been waiting by the altar. She moved quickly to block his path. Miss Yuika, I'm not allowed in? Correct. Miss Kuonji told me to make sure nobody enters. Alice said that. Sojiro was suspicious of why Alice would have said that. He could understand being kept out if Aoko was being treated or her condition had worsened, but this seemed different. Besides, Aoko herself said her treatment had finished. Now, Sister Yuika, there's no need to be so curt. Why not just tell him the truth, that the room is actually empty? Aoko left some time ago. But Father Eri. The priest began to explain everything from the pew he still sat in, about the thing he and Sojiro had spoken about, and why a stranger would be so concerned about a person he knew nothing about. It all became so clear to Sojiro. This was your plan all along. Sojiro's voice was full of anger, but Father Eri did not flinch. My apologies. Aoko requested I look after you. While I did need to buy her time to prepare, I honestly did want to talk to you. The priest attempted to smooth things over was far more sincere. Sojiro grit his teeth to control his rage. Why had they not stopped Aoko and Alice from heading towards certain death? Because both the nun and the priest were of the same ilk as the mages. As such, they understood Aoko's decision, and the priest understood Aoko too. Even if he did have the power to stop her, he would not have. The Aoko Aozaki he knew was not about to hide away in a church and lick her wounds. Where is Alice? With Aoko. They left about 30 minutes ago. Father Eri went so far as to divulge the time. 30 minutes ago, the same time the priest reared his head. It would not take even half that long to get to the school from here. And then another 10 minutes or less to get to Misaki High's old school building from there. Sojiro turned to the entrance of the chapel. However, stop right there. Where do you think you're going? The sound of her voice stopped him in his tracks. An unseen pressure had locked him in place. Her admonition seemed to carry a spellbinding power, stopping the foolhardy boy where he stood. You know nothing of mage battles. You're too weak to help. You'd be a liability. If they fall, that's their prerogative. Let them tear each other apart as they wish. A young, innocent bystander like you has no business taking part in such a calamity. She spoke with quiet anger. Her contempt was not directed at Aoko or Alice, though, but Sojiro for being so eager to waste his life. If there is a shred of hope, I wouldn't stop you. But there isn't. There's nothing you can do for them either. She was right. It would be pointless for him to go. At the amusement park, he had been useless in the end. Now they faced something even worse. He couldn't even imagine how he might contribute this time. Listen carefully. Aoko Aozaki's grandfather trained her to protect herself. Magecraft aside, she's still tougher than you. Even so, she still doesn't stand a chance against the beast of a familiar. Sojiro's physical strength, his only edge, meant nothing. If he went now, he would only get in their way. Yuika was correct. And yet, I have to go. I owe Aoko a debt I must repay. He spoke calmly but firmly. Though almost moved, the sister frowned slightly. She felt bad for him, but her warning was for his own good. If he could not listen to reason, then she would have to make him sleep. She raised a finger of binding at Sojiro. You mean you want to repay your debt, Sojiro? Incidentally, Sister Yuika, please refrain from using magecraft within the church. At least save it for religious ceremonies, or it'll affect my investigation. Dear Lord, give me strength. You seem so quiet, Sojiro, but you're more short-tempered than Ritsuka. If I may, Father Eri, I see no harm in letting him go. Or would you rather see Toko destroy Aoko and Alice? That issue is separate from this suicidal devotion. Reconsider, Mr. Shizuki. Even if you go, there's nothing you can do for them. The truth of the statement cut Sojiro deep. But despite everything that was being said, his mind was made up. It always had been. Even if he was not certain, he at least would not hesitate. He had always followed his instincts to the end, no matter where they took him. I know. but I'm still going. If I stay here, I really am powerless. His heart burned into his chest. While he listened to the priest talk, he could only think of seeing Aoko. He was not worried. He did not want to help. He just wanted to see her. He would figure out what came next once he got there. I see. He isn't suicidal. You say he'll get in the way, but Aoko and Alice stand no chance of winning anyway. Correct? So, what's the problem? Better to burn out in a blaze of glory. Father. What are you waiting for, Sojiro? Get going. Your response has moved Sister Yuika, and now you can move your legs, right? As soon as the priest pointed at Sojiro, he could move again. The pressure weighing on his shoulders lifted, along with the fear in his heart. Could he help? Would he expose Aoko and Alice to more danger? All such doubts had vanished. I'm headed out then. With any luck, we'll meet again. Good. Whatever happens, no regrets. And with that, Sojiro began to run as Father Eri watched with a look of satisfaction. The priest knew if he could not persuade Aoko, he could not convince Sojiro either. He watched the impetuous boy run away. As the blind nun listened to his footsteps fade into the distance, Yuika was different from Sojiro and the priest. While she showed no mercy to corruption or slight self-righteousness, she embraced benevolence to the innocent. I'm empty. Such an ordinary boy with his life ahead of him, and yet he chose to follow heretics into hell. How can you live with yourself, Father Eri? I thought responsible adults guided wayward children. She made no effort to hide her biting disapproval. It was simply her way of showing concern for the boy. Father Eri shrugged. You were mistaken about a few things, Sister Yuika. Your use of term responsible adult for a start. An adult is someone who takes responsibility no matter what. The rest went unspoken. It didn't matter to him which of them died. With a warm, goodly smile, the priest corrected the nun's misunderstanding. I don't know how to feel about that. And I don't know whether to continue. Well, I feel this calm over me, honestly. But tense at the same time. I want to find a song. Nope, that's not it. Nope. That's not it. This is it. Nope. I'm determined to find a track, and I think it's Heaven is Certain, but nope. Nope. This is beautiful. Either way, fucking Dance of the Piano Keys is gorgeous. Nope, not that one. Nope. 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 Alright, I'm gonna spend some time figuring out that song. But until then, have a good night. We're gonna do the next chapter tomorrow.